Well, good evening, everyone. How you doing? Pre-show. Got just a couple of minutes, and we'll be going live over on Odyssey Radio. And so I just want to welcome you all here. Invite you to sit back and enjoy. Also to participate if you want. I'm just getting all set up here. Make sure that we're gonna be where we're supposed to be, when we're supposed to be. Excuse me. There we go. I am going to not put in my headset unless I absolutely need to. So I'm going to turn my sound. I better put them on. Because once this is on, I get a little bit of feedback. You're feedback coming through like that. So I've got to, hey, Brianna, she says a quick say hello. I'm busy doing homework for real tonight. I forgot I won't have time this weekend. So good to see you. Glad you're here. I'm going to turn the sound way down. The only reason I would have to turn it up is if somebody were to call in. And then we can't pick you up on the audio on the radio station anyway, because this is not set up to do that. For some reason, I've got to reconfigure everything to make it pick up what's going on there. So we are set. We're recording already our audio for the archive for tomorrow night. The lights are very bright here and not placed in just the right spot for doing a video. So I got big shadows on me. So the lights are not perfect, but that's okay. I didn't bring lighting with me either. So I hope you're all doing all right tonight. I think everything is ready to roll. Just got to look at a couple things, make sure I got everything happening here the way it's supposed to happen. Bada boom, bada boom, bada boom. Who is this? I don't know. Wally Anderson is being another Thompson. Go through a bunch of stuff. Came across this and thought, blast from the past. Keep traveling on the run. Blah 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 blah. Okay, that's kind of neat. Somebody sent me some old pictures, apparently, and I'm just gonna put hey. So I'll check these out. Boom. How's that for riveting radio? Oh, wow. Somebody sent me some old photographs from newspaper clippings. Holy cow. Those are really cool. This would have to be from 1976. Wow. That's pretty neat. All right. I may have to share that stuff with you guys tonight. So we're getting closer. Okay, we got about 20 seconds. And we go live on the radio. And so I want you guys to stand by. I'm going to go quiet or dark, at least for a few seconds. In about 10 seconds, 9, and so on. So you guys sit tight. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAlanRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, AlanRoberts.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad, so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
Well, good evening, folks. Welcome to the Intrepid radio program right here on the Odyssey Radio, not network, station. See, I still have that in my head, and that still comes out that way sometimes. So welcome to the Intrepid radio program here on Odyssey Radio. And it's funny how 2 years of doing the same thing every day can sneak up on you and suddenly slip into your presentation. Well, anyway. There it is. Instead of the Odyssey Radio Network, which I suppose we are in a sense, we are the Odyssey Radio Station. And that's at ODYSY radio.com. Come on over, see all the goodness that's Odyssey Radio, and see all the stuff that's going on over at OdysseyRadio.com. And there is, I guess, the website's looking pretty sharp. So if you want to hear this show in its audio format only, go on over there. If you want to hear the audio rebroadcast of this show, you can check it out tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, 12 hours from now. And you can also be viewing this show in its video simulcast over in two different places. Over on Facebook.com/Odyssey Radio. And you can see it on my YouTube channel, YouTube.com/Scotty Roberts, not Odyssey. You thought I was going to say Odyssey Radio, didn't you? If you weren't listening, if you aren't a regular listener. And so I want to welcome you all here tonight. I appreciate your presence here. I'm glad that you're listening and that you give me your time. And those of you over in the chat room, welcome tonight. The chat room, the best chat room, I think, is over on the YouTube channel. And you can join the other Intrepids over there. And there's a handful of them in there tonight, ranging from Leslie Holker. How do you doing tonight over there? Paul Roney, good to see you. Paige Rockwell, good to see you. Matthew Sainsbury from Barbados, good to see you. Brianna Learman from New Richmond, good to see you, as always. Matt Finn, Master Finn is here from Michigan. And Leslie, I know Leslie's in Minnesota. And who else we got? We got anybody else here? Am I just starting to go through the repeats of those who are showing up over in the chat room? I think Field Guys are somewhere. Barbie D is here, and I can't remember where you're from, Barbie D. But Grumpy Stack is here from Louisiana. Good to see you, brother. And that's all I got off the top of my head right now. Welcome to the program. Welcome to those over in the chat room. Glad to have you on here. Have you guys been paying attention to some of the stuff that's been going on in Florida? Florida is constantly in the news now because of Governor DeSantis. And why is it constantly in the news? Because of Governor DeSantis? Because Governor DeSantis is a conservative. And so they're looking, all the news all the time is about stuff that Governor DeSantis is doing. And the next thing I have seen is that Governor DeSantis has now banned mathematic books for the schools, public schools in the state of Florida. And everybody, and you know where I saw this? I saw this over on George Takei, the actor who formerly played Lieutenant Sulu in the original Star Trek. He's a leftist activist, and he's got his stuff pops up. I joined his channel years ago, before he was doing all his activism stuff. I think it was before Trump was even president and running for office, which gave him animus to go into his leftist activism. Excuse me. And by the way, if you're listening tonight and the sound sounds wonky, that's because it is. I am broadcasting without my studio equipment and my studio microphone and my studio mixing board. And we are broadcasting because we're in a remote location away from my studio via just my computer screen and the microphone that's built into the computer. And so you're going to be, it doesn't sound quite as bassy and quite as resonant as my normal microphone. So if it sounds funny, that's why. And but anyway, DeSantis banned out of 132 new math books, he banned 54 of them. That was 41% of the book. I think it was 54 of them. 41% is the total number of the math books that he banned. And why, you may ask, did he ban those? Well, he banned those for, I think, a very good reason, ideologically speaking. Now, let me ask you, if your math books in your school, no matter what side or end of the political spectrum you are on, if your math books, mathematic books, social studies books, any kind of books, were imbued with a philosophy of politics that you didn't think was two-sided, that it was a more one-sided slant on things, and would you have a problem with that? Well, this is what's going on there. They are looking for materials that are imbued with the CRT, the critical race theory, and all different kinds of leftist, far left political slants, which are inaccurate. CRT is not we don't need to talk about it for the sake of this show, but it is not an accurate theory, and it's not truthful. And it's misleading about our own our own history of our country. And so bottom line is, what DeSantis administration has done is, according to the way the left is talking about, they banned 54 different mathematics books down there. Well, now the first thing that comes to my mind is that when you ban something, I'm banning that. Can you ban something that has never been around before? Oh, I'm banning that thing that doesn't exist here yet. Can you actually ban that? Because these math books haven't been in circulation, my understanding. They're new math books. And so they have banned 41% of them, or rejected 41% of them on the basis of their political content. You say, how in the earth can a math book be imbued with all different kinds of political ideology? And I saw all kinds of arguments on George Takei's Instagram. That's where I first saw this, by the way. That's why I brought his name up. I drifted there. And I see all the people that follow him are generally I'm generally speaking now, you're kind of mindless followers of a political ideology, meaning they don't put any thought or effort into what they believe about something. They are either drawn in by the personality, the cult of personality, or they are drawn in because, well, I've always been a Democrat or a leftist, or they go along with certain elements of leftist philosophy, political philosophy. And so they're drawn into this stuff, and you can usually tell by the way these people talk, by the way they answer questions. It's everything. Now, I'll do an extreme parody of these people. It would be, I would say, well, do you think that there should be political ideology put into math books? And they go, oh, you're just a follower of the orange bad man that used to be in office that we got rid of, and you're part of the non-thinking right. You get stupid answers like that. So you look at that and you say, wait a minute, can you give me a cogent answer? Do you have an intelligent answer for why do you think that they banned these things? Well, it's kind of like this. If you look at your legislators, and let's say there is a bill out there, and you hear the news will say, all the Republicans voted against this bill, or you'll hear all the Democrats voted against this bill, and they voted down this great bill that was here to help you. Is the spin put on things. You do realize that legislation, when it comes into the House or the Congress or the Senate, that other senators can tack on pork onto that bill, meaning here is the core bill, but we're going to tack this little thing on here, and you got to read all the attachments if you're a legislator. We're going to put this on. We're going to put this on. There could be 20 different things tacked onto a bill, and you go, wait a minute. I would vote for this bill if it were a clean bill, when you hear them call for a clean bill. But there's too much of this pork on here. You got to strip the pork out, because I can't vote for the good bill or the bill at its core, because you've tacked on all these other add-ons that have nothing to do with the bill that I can't vote for. Now, this is kind of like what's going on with the math books. How can a math book be racist? A math book can be racist when you start adding things into it, where I know some of the examples that the state of Florida had cited were examples of graphs, and I don't have the exact equations or anything in front of my eyes, but there were graphs they put together that were tantamount to saying, how do you find the racist white guy in here, and the percentage of racist white guys versus, it was something like that. And I know I'm going a little more extreme than the graph was, but it was stuff like that that included teaching from critical race theory and other things. And critical race theory was already kind of banned or put down in Florida. And now they're finding all these ways that it's already been crept into the textbooks. They're saying, let's get that stuff out of there. Teach mathematics. Whatever happened to, excuse me, Bobby has 3 apples. He gives 1 apple to Howard, leaving him how many apples to give to Susie? That's all bullshit now. So, because you're using critical race theory and other forms of political ideology in your mathematics book. So what they've done is they've said, these are the books that we're not going to allow. Because of the new books, they rejected those. You didn't ban them. You can go buy them from the publisher if you want to buy them. They're just not allowing them in the public school in Florida. And so now there's criticism. There is hue and cry over the fact that DeSantis, the Nazi DeSantis, has now, of course, said no math books in our government, or in our state-run schools, state-funded schools, that include critical race theory and other elements of political ideology like that. So there it is. Boom. What do you think of that? Do you want your kids going to school where critical race theory is taught? You may think of something you even agree with. What if it was creationism? What if it was evolution? Used to be the creationism versus evolution used to be the big fight back in the 70s and the 80s when I was in school. What if it was a topic like that? What if it was a topic that, say, people on the right adhere to? What if it was a topic, an anti-abortion topic that was put into a math book? Now, you might be anti-abortion if you're conservative. What if there was a topic that it showed graphs and equations that were saying, out of all the abortions committed, it was found that 41% of them were done with coat hangers in the alley, and another 2% were done by Planned Parenthood, and another, do you want that kind of ideology, no matter what side you're looking at it from, in mathematic textbooks? In textbooks that are meant to teach the 3 R's, the reading, writing, arithmetic, if you drop the A, apostrophe arithmetic, taught in our schools. I don't think it should lean to any political ideology at all. That's the part of our government that needs to be secular and kept secular. We always say, I grew up in situations in the church where the right, religious right, the conservative right, was always at war with the left, and there were things that they believed and they wanted those included in government, and the left wanted their thing included. The thing is, you can't in a country like ours, where the government is meant to be secular, you can't have something that favors one religious point of view. You can have political ideologies, but you can't have political ideologies that in situations of school like that go against one another. You have to have a fair presentation, and the fair presentation is to drop it out and remain secular. Now, that's on a religious front. Things like critical race theory, there is controversy over that. And if you don't know what critical race theory is, I could look it up for you real quick to give you a great definition. What is critical race theory? Critical race theory. What is critical race theory? Why is it under attack? Well, is critical race theory a way of understanding how American racism, how it's shaped public policy, or a divisive course that pits people of color against white people? Liberals and conservatives are in sharp disagreement over this. Now, this is from Education Week, so this might be slanted toward critical race theory. I don't know. I'm not going to read the whole article. And of course, if you go to Google to look anything up, you're going to get a certain point of view from it. From Google, because Google is more like the media, like the big tech companies out there for social media. It's got a slant of all of its own. Critical race theory is a cross-disciplinary, intellectual, and social movement of civil rights scholars and activists who seek to examine the intersection of race, society, and law in the United States and to challenge mainstream American liberal approaches to racial justice. And that's the Wikipedia version of that, which is not written by a source other than one that supports it. When you put something up on Wikipedia, there it is. And it's the people who are putting it up. Critical race theory, Britannica, Encyclopedia Britannica has a definition of critical race theory. And they say this, they say, intellectual and social movement and loosely organized framework of legal analysis based on the premise that race is not a natural, biologically grounded feature of physically distinct subgroups of human beings, but a socially constructed or culturally invented category that's used to oppress and exploit people of color. Critical race theorists hold that racism is inherent in the law and the legal institutions of the United States insofar as they function to create and maintain social, economic, and political inequalities between whites and non-whites, especially African Americans. Critical race theorists are generally dedicated to applying their understanding of the institutional or structural nature of racism to the concrete, if distant, goal of eliminating all race-based and other unjust hierarchies, and so on and so on. You can go read up on critical race theory and see what that's all about. So, Steve Clark says, Military 101, divide and conquer. Yeah, there it is. And so this is why the math books were banned or rejected in Florida. New math books, 41% of them. So 54 of 132, that leaves what, 78? Am I doing my math right in my head? Textbooks that were accepted and used. Nobody's banning mathematics, which is what they want you to believe when they start ranting about this. Oh, the people on the right, they're banning math books now. That's not what they're doing. They're banning the teaching, the imbuing, the slipping in under the surface teachings of critical race theory and other things like that. So you can go look this stuff up, read a bit on it, and you're going to find out what it's all about. And this is what they're doing in Florida. And DeSantis has said, we're not going to allow critical race theory, which is a flawed theory, and it's just a theory. Critical race theory, they want it taught as fact. And this is why the theory of evolution was even resisted back in the 60s and the 70s in public schools. As people are saying, it's just a theory. It's not proven that this is how this works. Now, they've proven elements, it seems, of evolution, but that's based on their information. Are you a creationist or an evolutionist? It's hard not to be an evolutionist. There is science out there. But science is always, remember we were reading some quotes in the Captain's Cabin last night from Richard Feynman, who was talking about how science is really kind of your best guess. And it leaves you doubting because even the best of our science doesn't know everything for sure. This is the way we think it works. So it's interesting stuff. While this show, the Intrepid radio program, struggles to remain non-political in my presentation of materials, it's really hard sometimes. And so I hope that this doesn't come across as politics as much as it comes across as current events. This is what's going on in your country. And our current events, are, of course, are filled with politically dripping tidbits of information. I might as well also tell you, too, as if you don't already know, that Elon Musk he is the owner of Twitter. And so he's going to impose new rules over there. The new rules are they're going to loosen the rules when it comes to free speech over there. That you'll be able to, on Twitter now, be able to express yourself without the bots that exist over there to flag anything, like the conversation I just had, or conversations we've seen on the COVID virus over the last couple of years, where they'll flag something as misinformation because it goes against the narrative and the agenda that they, the owners or the shareholders or the people working Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube even, that all these places have particular narratives and agendas that they want promoted. And therefore, they will flag other things that are not part of their agenda as being misinformation or misleading, because they believe that they have a handle on what is what and what should be said and what should be believed and what people should hear, which goes against the flow of the United States Constitution. Now, the big question that they always wrangle is, well, the Constitution applies to the government. The government can't do those things for you. The Constitution guarantees our right to free speech, guarantees our right to life, to liberty, to the pursuit of happiness, so on and so forth, guarantees our right to own and bear arms. All of these things, these are rights that the government doesn't give these to you. The Constitution doesn't even give them to you. All the Constitution does is guarantee that those rights will not be infringed because they are your innate rights. And so when you've got the Constitution that guarantees something like that, these corporations were saying, well, that's government. That applies to the country, to the way the government operates the country. It doesn't apply to the way private corporation can dictate the rules of its membership. And there is something to that, to a certain degree. That's the problem. If you're a company, you give away a free platform for somebody to, this platform right here on YouTube is free. Do they have a right to call the rules? Well, you can't talk about this, this, or this. Well, technically, yes, they can say that, if they are an open platform. And in an open platform, you can't do that. So they claim to be other things to try to get around that rule. And the big question I always had was, if you are a big corporation that was built on the basis of having the freedom in this country to do that, that is guaranteed by the United States Constitution. If you built that company, if you grew that company, and if that company now exists on the basis of the fact that you have constitutional rights and were able to do this, how can you then deny your members the same constitutional rights under the banner of, well, this is my corporation now, and I can run it any way I want and impose any rules I want? Can you say, I have a rule against pedophilia on your platform? What if a pedophile came along and said, well, that denies me my constitutional right to speak my mind, to speak my opinion? Are you running into in a sense, a hermeneutical quagmire when it comes to your freedom of speech? You're going to get challenges of all kinds like that. So what Elon Musk has done by buying this platform is he has said, I'm going to open it back up for people to speak freely. And he said, even those who disagree with me will be able to speak freely. Now, on that pedophilia topic, if a pedophile wants to go out in the public square and stand on the soapbox and preach the virtues of pedophilia, what do you think is going to happen to him out in the public? He's going to probably suffer the consequences of his stupidity. And the same thing I think would happen anywhere else. But you've got the freedom to say something until that saying something hurts somebody else. And of course, this is the banner under which they said, well, if you didn't go by the science we went by, you're hurting other people by giving misinformation about COVID, about CRT, about anything else. And so there's that infinitely stupid, swampy quagmire that opens up to say, well, what really is truth and what isn't truth? Pilate's famous lines, what's truth? So the beauty about what's going to happen now at Twitter, this is going to be one of the first big social media platforms that is now going to do away with the censorship of opposing opinion. And so keep watching that and see what happens. Leslie says pedophilia should never have the freedom of speech to make his behavior okay. That's very true. But Leslie, I have to ask you, does a pedophile, whether we agree with him or not, or we know that their actions are immoral and hurtful of other people, do they have a right to talk about it? That's where it strikes and hits the dagger in the heart for all of us, because he does have the right to say something, to express his ideas. But as soon as ideas start expressing things that would hurt others, that's where he is treading on light ground, that pedophile. So this is one of those really hard places, because there are pedophiles and there are organizations, pedophilic organizations out there where these people can express what they believe is okay. And as long as they're not violating somebody else's rights, do they have the right to say it? This is what the 1968 case in Scotty, Ohio, represented. That was where the neo-Nazi party in 1968 went into a predominantly Jewish town, Scotty, Ohio, and wanted to hold a march, peaceful march. The Supreme Court ruled that they can do that they have the right to speak their mind. The Constitution doesn't guarantee the right against reprisal from the public and consequences for your stupidity, but it does guarantee them the right to march. And that went against every fiber of anybody who believes in the Constitution. What goes against the fiber of their being. But you have to say, all of this stuff I've just been talking about is that we have to pull ourselves back and say, we exist in a society that has to retain its secularity. We have to be a secular society in all ways, shapes, and forms in order to allow everybody to have their freedoms. That doesn't mean we allow behavior, because behavior, if you murder somebody, you can express, I would love to kill people. Do I have the right to say that, according to the Constitution? I think people should be things that we could kill if we want to. By saying that, am I inviolate of the Constitution, or am I inviolate of anybody's rights? No. But there's a moral behind that. If I start acting on that, then I've violated the constitutional rights of somebody else. So this is how hard this can be and how fine these lines can be. And I think this is what's going on even with the mathematic textbook rejection in Florida. So anyway, this is a big topic. You can see how it becomes. And I don't want anybody to be mad. Oh, I can't believe you're saying that, Scotty. The people have a right to say that. If you're saying that, you're not thinking. Think about what people have the right to say versus what people have the right to do. What is true First Amendment rights? You have the right to speak. You have the right to express yourself, the right to express your mind. So maybe not the rights to speak, but we used to have a moral code that called out evil and sick. Yes, we did, Leslie. I agree with you. And that moral code, that line has been thinned out, hasn't it? Between what is right and what is wrong. And so there are things that our government guarantees, but I guarantee you, the founders, I don't think put that First Amendment there to protect the rights of Nazis, to protect the rights of white supremacists, to protect the rights of pedophiles, but they put those rules there to protect their right to express themselves. Because if we take away their right to express themselves, what happens to our right to express ourselves if somebody who disagrees with us, thinks we shouldn't have our First Amendment rights? That's what you have on social media. So there it is. And it might be, Barbara D says, I believe it's a line that's been erased altogether. Morgan Snow says, fine and dandy, but don't be mad at me if I absolutely have no compassion for child molesters. I don't have any compassion for them either. I have my freedom of speech allows me the right to express what I think should happen to child molesters. And you too. So I think these are things we need to think about. What are the things that are allowed to be said versus the things that are not allowed to be said in the United States? What does the Constitution guarantee? It guarantees us the right to free speech. It doesn't say what the content of that speech is. What is the wording, the exact wording of the First Amendment? Let's just take a look at that really quick before I close this out, because I've spent more time on this than I want to. Let's see. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievance. That is what the First Amendment says. I'm going to read it one more time. By the way, the First Amendment guarantees freedoms concerning religion, expression, assembly, and the right to petition. It forbids Congress from both promoting one religion over others and also restricting an individual's religious practices. It guarantees freedom of expression by prohibiting Congress from restricting the press or the rights of individuals to speak freely. It also guarantees the right of citizens to assemble peaceably and to petition their government. So one more time, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or of the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Boom. That's what the First Amendment says. How do we interpret that? So there you go. Ellery's here. Hey, Rainey. There's my beautiful wife, Rainey, back home. Hey, Dad, it's Ellery. I love you, Ellery. Daddy loves you too. Look into the camera or look into my eyes. I love you, baby. I miss you back at home. I'm glad that you tuned in. If you want to call me, you can. I'll even put you on radio if you want to call me. All you have to do is watch this now. If Mom's sitting there with you, Copy to clipboard. Here you go. Boom. There it is. There's going to be a link that shows up. All Mom's got to do is put that link in, and you can call me on the show here. I'll see your camera come up. So if you want to. And folks, those of you listening, that's my little girl back home. I'm away from home for a few days, and that's why I'm here in this makeshift studio in the north. And my little girl, I told her, she said before I left, she said, "Can I call you on your show?" I said, "Absolutely, you can call me on my show." So, here's Rainey. Hold on, guys. I'm going to add her to the stream. You might not be able to hear this audio over on the radio, the audio form. Hey, Rainey.
Hi.
Hi. Hi, Ellie.
I'm here. I'm down here.
Oh, okay. Is that Rowan?
That's
Yes.
Rowan.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to unplug my microphone for a second, and let's see if we can get any sound that picks up without my speakers going crazy. Are you there?
We're here. Can you hear us?
We can hear you. And those of you on the radio, we're only going to keep them on for a couple minutes. That's my family back home. Those of you in the chat room, you can see there's Ellery. I see you, baby. I don't know if you can sit higher. I'm only seeing half of your head. There you are. Hi. Now, Rainey's computer over there, we've got to replace that computer. If you look at Ellery on the video, the reds are really red, the blues are really blue, the colors are just like saturated. That's a problem with the camera on that computer over on Rainey's computer in her studio. Yeah, it looks like she did her makeup tonight. There's Mom back there. Hey, let Mom stick her face in. Hey, beautiful Mom.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
And
Concentrating on braiding Rowan's hair.
all right, braiding Rowan's hair. Hey, Rowan.
Hi.
I love you. Where's Flynn?
He's mad upstairs in his bedroom. I took away his computer. I took away the remotes. I took away his phone. I took away every handheld device I could find.
Oh, boy.
I took everything. So there's not even can't get on my stuff. Can't get on your team.
I'm going to assume that he did something that deserved that.
He's just really crabby tonight. Really mean. Kind of nasty.
Yeah. Here, I'm going to take all your devices away. You go work on that crabbiness now. I can see that. Hey, Ro, your braiding looks really good. So, Matthew Sainsbury says, "I know, Scotty, that Ellery wished me a happy birthday." That was on Monday of last week, wasn't it? I think, or maybe the day after. Yeah, Matthew, the boy is giving trouble and he was grounded.
Really?
So Flynn crossed Mama big time, says
Yes,
Leslie. You got that right.
Can you not put your makeup on right there, Ellie?
So there is everybody doing their makeup over there, and I wonder if I can get just a little bigger picture if I take away the banners. So I know those of you listening audibly over on Odyssey Radio, not much benefit for you here because you can't see the pictures. Just my family back home because we're away from home. We're broadcasting from this makeshift studio up in the Great North Woods. And so they called into the show tonight. It's a big treat for me and hopefully for all of you out there too. Rainey, you look absolutely beautiful.
Uh-huh.
I miss you.
I actually have color on my skin on this computer.
Yeah.
I actually put on lipstick. Yeah, she liked me.
Oh, I see.
Rowan liked me.
Okay, guys.
Yeah, we're gonna.
We won't last long on the radio doing that. So I'm glad you called in. Did you have a fun day today?
Yeah.
Head over.
Good. How was school?
Tomorrow.
School good?
No.
Good.
We hate school.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I actually put lipstick on.
I see that. Your lips are glowing.
I have
All
softball
right.
pictures. I bite.
That's okay. We'll talk to Dad later, tomorrow.
Or as riveting as this is for radio, we're going to have to draw it to a close.
Yeah, good night, Dad. We love you.
I love you, Ellie. I love you, Ro. Let me
I
see
love
your face
you.
again, Ro.
Be careful, I bite.
Where's your face? There it is. Tell your brother Flynn I love him.
Maybe.
And Rainey, I love you. It's good to see you.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to take you all off of here right now and go back.
Wait.
No, not wait.
Wait.
Let's
I love
Wait.
you. And be careful, I bite.
Well, thank you. I didn't quite hear all of that because I have to have the sound low because it's going to mess with the radio.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, let us go.
all right, I'm letting you guys go. See you later. Good night. I love
night.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Say hi to Flynn for me. Tell him I love him.
I will. Okay.
Bye. All right, everybody. There it was. You got to hear it here first. That was my family calling in from back home. Yes, Ellery is a Spitfire. Leslie, that's the way she is. And so so that was nice to have them call in. She wanted to call in and talk to me on the radio. So I've got to remove her now from the backstage. Kick from studio. Boom, guest is kicked in the background. So I don't remember exactly where I was. We were talking about the First Amendment, the Constitution. And by the way, thank you for indulging me the moment to say hi to my kids on radio. And we've got about 11 minutes left of this show, thereabouts, and we didn't even get to our topic of the night. Except what we talk about is the topic of the night. We just didn't get to the scheduled topic of the night. And I could hit this very quickly. Let's shift. You already know where I am on the Constitution and all the things on the First Amendment and all the things about everything we've talked about today. Let's now take that and push that aside. And let's talk about, excuse me, our topic for tonight. And that is the talking about blessings that we put on our home and the things that we can do to bless our home. Now, if it's a palace, if it's a studio apartment, if it's a high-rise apartment building, if it's a room that you're letting with newer inhabiting energies of the previous occupants, your house and your home can be blessed to reset its energies, to recharge its spirits, to protect against evil, and to evict unwanted house-sitting spirits that might be more mischievous than merry. So you can clear your house of any negative influence to allow positive energy to enter and make your home feel more abundant, feel more loving, feel more joyous, feel more sacred to you, to your family, to those around you. You'll want to clean and cleanse the house to begin. And in this way, you can push kind of this restart button on the energies and the spirit of your home. And it's you clean out the negative. You invite in the positive. And if it's a new home, a simple sweeping the sage, smudging ritual is perfect. And if it's, and we talked about that a few nights ago. If it's a home you've lived in for a long time, declutter as much as you can. Wash things like bed linens, upholstery if you can, upholstered pillows, curtains, carpets, sweep the dust and the vacuum and the rest. Give your house a good overall cleaning. Spend a Saturday cleaning your house. Pay attention to the windows as well to invite the sun's healing rays and the wind's soothing hymns and the moon's glorious wisdom to pour into your space and to fill it with warmth and energetic life. And a house blessing is usually done on or before moving into a new home. The tradition dates back centuries, often has a religious aspect to it, with the purpose of warding off evil spirits. Now here, blessing means removing negative energies to allow space for clean, positive intention to fill in for a life well lived and loved in the space in which you live. A house blessing can be really simple. It can be private. It can be blended with the traditional housewarming parties, so it can be a little more public to people, which is more of a social gathering to introduce your friends and extended family, even new neighbors into your new house. If it's a housewarming you want, take a cue from the early origins of the traditions of housewarmings and light a candle on your first night in the home. Light just one or many in a variety of colors, or choose the color based on which of the home's energies you want to highlight or to claim. And we went through the colors that work in your house. If you want to, let's say just a real simple one, if you want purity in your home and good intention, light a white candle. If you want prosperity, light a green candle, things like that. And we could go through that another time again if you want to. The purpose of the early housewarmings was just as the name suggests, to warm up the house. Invited guests brought gifts of wood to the new home, where it was used to stoke the fire in the fireplaces or the stoves. The house, thus warmed, was also the perfect setting for a celebratory meal to be shared, ensuring prosperity and abundance for all people. So to prepare your space, just start with the entrance, the place where the people you love and those who are bringing positive energy into your home enter into your house. Create a magical welcome just by clearing that space alone. You can use things like brooms. Brooms are a symbol of cleansing, of sweeping out. It's an ancient tool used not only to keep dwellings clean, but also historically, courtyards, roads, etc., were all used brooms for others to be able to pass by and enjoy. And it also holds a spiritual roots, with many believing in its powers to sweep away the bad as well as past evils that still haunt. The Bessem Broom, one of the earliest brooms, was a simple bundle of twigs or herbs gathered and attached to a handle. And these brooms were often hung, bristles up, near doorways to guard against evil entering the home and to protect everyone inside. You could call that an old wives' tale. You could call it, old practices that we no longer engage in because it's just an old wives' tale, or it's an old story. That's the way we look at that. And excuse me. And so we abide by some of those old wives' tales in order to appease certain traditions. But is it real? Does it really work? When one thinks of a broom, what do they think of? They think of witches. Even Harry Potter talks about brooms, has brooms in it. And the Bessem Broom is one of those most associated with symbols of Wicca. And the traditional broom of witches was typically made from these twigs of oak or ash and a handle of willow wraps. And then they used it to sweep away negative energies when preparing for spell work. An old African American tradition holds that holding a broom above a newly married couple's heads protects them from future evil. And if the same couple jumps the broom, it is said to increase fertility. So jump the broom if you want babies. So English tradition says common law marriage is signified by jumping the broom. And early Celtic pagans associated the broom with woodland fairies, seeking their magical help and wisdom in finding the best wood for the broom, knowing its enchantment was then going to be guaranteed, so to speak. And there's a little bit more on the broom, but because I spent so much time on the other stuff, kind of ran out of time on the broom. We're going to hit this again tomorrow. We're going to talk about the broom and a couple of more things on house blessings tomorrow. And so, guys, we're just about out of time. We got about 45 seconds left of the show. If you want to sit and talk about this some more, maybe we'll finish talking about the broom in the captain's cabin after hours here. You can join us and talk. Or you can catch us tomorrow night. And you can catch this show in its archive form over on Odyssey Radio tomorrow morning. And so with just a few seconds left, I want to say, folks, thanks for being here. Live long and prosper.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
All right, folks, and that easy, we're back. We're back. This is the welcome to the afterglow, the after show. This is what you all have dubbed the Captain's Cabin. And so welcome to the Captain's Cabin tonight. And no, that's not a fake background. This is where I'm staying at my friend Andy's house up here in Pequot Lakes, Minnesota. I'm about 3.5 hours from home. And that's why my kids and my wife came in to say hello this evening. And so I'm glad that you came by and joined us tonight for the show. And if you're sticking around for the Captain's Cabin, no, we just lost someone. I just saw one number clicked down. If you're sticking around, I'm glad to have you here. I appreciate you being here. Oh, Susie stopped in, and she must have stopped in and has to leave. I think that's what just happened when I saw the numbers go. Steve Clark says, Broom, doesn't everyone use a vacuum cleaner now? Yeah, you can use a vacuum cleaner now, Steve. I think the vacuum cleaner is the modern broom. And Matthew Sainsbury is here. Hey, Matthew Sainsbury, good to see you. Sean Stroik is here. Good to see you, brother. Leslie Holker's still around. Glad that you're here. Susie Q, if you're still there, glad that you stopped in. Good to see you whenever we can. Morgan Snow, good to see you as well. And, or is it Leslie that left? Maybe I didn't see a post in there. I missed something. So I'm glad that you're all here. Steve Clark, I'm glad that you're here tonight. Good to see you as well. Michelle Kenham-Free, good to see you as always. Rainey asked if I changed my sound back. I did. As a matter of fact, I just didn't plug in my headset again. So I just turned the sound down a bit. Always hang the horseshoe open end up to hold the luck in, says Steve Clark. That's right. It's another one of those old traditions. Leslie said, hugs to you. I know how much falls on your shoulders when daddy is gone. I appreciate that, Leslie. For my wife, Rainey, back home. And what else we got in here? Who else was in here? I'm not sure if Master Finn made it in tonight. I was just looking to see if he was here, so I didn't miss saying hello. And any of you here that I missed, didn't miss you because of any weird reason or because anything other than not having the chance to scroll back and see you. So, yeah, Leslie said, both my husbands worked out of town a lot. What I wouldn't have given to have a connection like this so that they could talk and see their daddy when he was away. Yeah, this is the beauty of modern technology. My kids have never known anything different. My 3 younger kids, they grew up with this technology. And so when my kids were younger, I was doing a lot of traveling with the Ghost Hunters to a lot of their shows, with Darkness Radio to a lot of those shows. And when I was gone, there was one year I was gone when the season hit for events. I was gone 3 weekends out of the month, and but weekends, Thursdays through Sundays, and 3 times a month. And it was part of the way I made my living. And so the kids could talk to me on the computer or on my phone. And that's existed ever since they were little kids. So that's very cool. I'm glad we have that. Imagine what it was like 300 years ago, 200 years ago, even after we were already a country. Somebody traveled overseas from Great Britain or some other country and traveled here to the Americas and settled here in the United States. What it was like now, even when after there was civilization here, how long it took to get messages back and forth. You couldn't even just get on a payphone and call. You had to put a letter on a ship that was bound back home. And it could be a month before communications traded in between. Now, of course, I think what's the swiftest crossing of the Atlantic? Anybody know that? Matthew Sainsbury, you're good with looking up facts surrounding all the topics we talk about. What was the shortest length of time that it took to sail a ship from Great Britain to the United States? I'm just curious. And of course, it all depended on where you lived in the United States once that got here, where the letter was going once it got over there. How long would it take? Would it take just as long to get from the seaport to somebody's home in central London? I don't know. So it's very interesting. Somebody can look that up and find out for us. Just imagine how long there were people who left home in Ireland. There's that song Kilkenny, Ireland, where the song is about a man writing back home, or receiving letters from home, and finds out that he left for the Americas and he went to clear land to bring his new wife over, and she had a baby while he was gone in one of the letters, and then one of the letters was that his mother died, and then eventually his wife died back home in the time it took the letters to get back and forth. And they're very sad songs, and a sad Irish song, go figure. Say that isn't so. So weeks is what Matthew Sainsbury said. Yeah, I know it took weeks. I thought it was 3 weeks was one of the, if I read that correctly, 3 weeks was one of the shortest times it took to sail a vessel across the ocean. I'm not positive of that, though. It took 3 weeks for slaves to get to the Americas after ships took items from Britain, trading them in West Africa. There you go. I think it may be during the Middle Passage on a pretty part in history. So, whatever you meant by that, I'm not sure. But yeah, I think it was 3 weeks it could take to sail across the ocean. Can you imagine being on a boat for 3 weeks when you didn't have satellite communication? Man. So anyway, that's that topic. So we were talking about the broomstick. I think I'll save that for tomorrow night because there's some very interesting stuff on the broomstick. I just, sometimes I speak about politics so infrequently, what people would deem politics. If I get on one of those topics that becomes a bit of a political rant for me, I like to characterize those as current events as opposed to politics, because I'm not trying to spew political ideology. Although some would say I was, because I wasn't, that I was supporting DeSantis and doing what he did. But I think he did the right thing, not just ideologically. I think from a constitutional point of view, I think he did the right thing. So, and we'll leave that at that. So, Morgan Snow says, my oldest son just moved 4 hours away. So glad I can call and see him. Yeah. My son, Sam, lived down in North Carolina. As you all know, when he came to Louisiana with me last year, that was because I hadn't really seen him for 3 years at that point, almost 3 years, couple years at least at that point. And because he had gotten into trouble and all of that up here, and it was hard to get to see him. He wasn't in our home, and then he finally his sisters Abby and Brent took him in down in North Carolina and said he can come and live with us. And so he went down to live with them, and I didn't get down there very often to North Carolina. And so last year when I got that offer to go work down there doing the roofing stuff for a few months, I said, I'm bringing Sam with me. And it was a good time for us to reconnect. But now he's back home. He's up here in this area. And by back home, I haven't seen him face to face in since Christmas, because he lives an hour away. And you think, wow, an hour, but he's still in the same region. He's still in the same geographical region as us. He's in western Wisconsin. He's just in a little town that's about 49 miles from here on the back country highways. So it takes, roughly 50 minutes to get down there to see him. And just going up the road, going through 2-3 little towns along the way. We have to go south. We go through Roberts, of all places. I said to the kids, we were passing through Roberts, the little town village of Roberts, Wisconsin. I said, wouldn't it be fun to live here? To live on Roberts Road in Roberts, Wisconsin, the Roberts family. We could claim this is our town. It was named after our family. But so we go through Roberts, which is about 8 to 9 miles away from here. And then we go all the way down. We go through River Falls. I think it's River Falls we go through. Yeah, River Falls. It's a little bigger town. It's a University of Wisconsin town. And then Ellsworth. There's a couple little towns in between here and there. Little dots. I mean, 4 or 5 buildings. And on the highway side. And you go through those little towns and you end up down in Ellsworth, which is where Rainey and I used to have our ranch, which was down in Ellsworth, our horse ranch. And we had 40 acres down there. And so Robert's Domain, says Matthew Sainsbury, and that's it. So Leslie says, we go to Roberts when we go to Elk Mound. It's not that far from New Richmond. Yeah, it's New Richmond. It's a straight shot down. Of course, we're another 12 miles outside of New Richmond. So we're going from Somerset to New Richmond, or Somerset to near Hudson, and all the way down, and so on. That doesn't mean anything to anybody listening unless you live here. So, so that's where Sam is. And so we're trying to get Sam up here to come up. It's easier for him to come up here than for all of us to hop in the car and go down there. And so he's had some car problems. And he bought a new car, and the car pooped out on him, a new used car, pooped out on him. So he's again kind of back at the behest of being able to use other people's cars. And what just turned off back here? Something just did something back here. And why did it do that? Hang on a second. I'm just looking to see what was there and what went away. That's interesting. I don't know. So anyway, so that's it. Just looking what everybody's saying on here. I think there was a famous female pirate called Bonnet, says Steve Sainsbury, Matthew Sainsbury. I think our Bonnie depends how her name is spelt, and she was a female pirate. I think it was Bonnie was Bonnie or Bonnet. I think was a male pirate, but I think there was wasn't there the Granielle was a female pirate. There was a Mary. Maybe it was Mary Bonnet, something like that. What happened to Steve? I had lost my cell phone before I got on the ship. I hate when you get a car and it goes to shit right away because it happens to my children. Yeah, even when you get, sometimes if you don't have money and you buy a shit car, it falls apart in a month. So that's what happened to Sam. So I wish I could buy him a new car. We'll see what we can we're trying to find him one now. He's got a couple thousand saved up, wants to get a new car. And so we're going to see what we can help him find. And so, and even us, we're in that same position. You know, we get a new car. We've got one car down now. Now, many people out there, that shows the standard of poverty we have in the United States. Rainey and I have one car, but we're reduced to one car because one broke down. And we just turned it over to as a junkyard piece because it was too expensive to fix. You don't put $6,000 into a 18-year-old car. That was Moby Dick, by the way, at the time. Now we have a Buick Rendezvous, and it works and it's fine. It wouldn't be my first choice in cars, but it's a newer car and it seems to be okay. And hopefully, knock on wood, that'll last us. And but we also have to get a second car. One of these days, we'll just break down and get a mortgage on a car. The thing about or mortgage, a car loan. We had the little place that was a few blocks from here, small town here, that we could get a new car. Interest rate was slightly high. It was like 8%. And we could have gotten a new car, you know, a new car that was worth $30,000. But you're looking at about a $450 a month payment on a car like that. And that's a car you also have to have full insurance on as opposed to liability. So it costs more. Everything costs more. So we didn't go that route. So we'll wait and see what happens, you know, as things progress here. So Morgan Snow had a new car once. It got stolen not even a month after we had bought it. I hope there was insurance. I really hope you had insurance that helped with that. Morgan Snow said, mine lasts about 3 or 4 years. Just when you get it paid off. Yeah, I think it's got a little thing inside there, a little timer that's set, and it clicks off as soon as the warranty is done. You've got it paid off. Oh, click. I think they build them that way. So anyway, you and Rainey are looking forward to having your own home soon. Priorities. Isn't that the truth, Leslie? That's what we're trying to accomplish here. And to get into a new house. And so Andy, my friend Andy, where I'm staying now, he had a house that he built up here. Now, it's a different kind of house. It was a really gorgeous, think of a pole barn, just the 4 sides at the roof. But it was a big metal construction home. And it was kind of, it was brand new, sat on, a thick foundation of concrete. And he had all the bells and whistles putting into this thing. And it was basically a big open space, but he was starting to enclose half of the back end as a house. And the way Andy does things, you see, this is his house. The way they do things is top notch in everything they do. And they were putting together this gorgeous house. And inside this steel building, and it sat on about 2 acres. And Andy said, if you guys want to move up here, he said, we didn't settle on any figures, but he said, I'll let you buy this place. And, it would cost you about half of what you're paying now for renting out a townhome. Plus you have 2 acres of woods, and we're by the lake, and we're right through the woods, Andy's house here. And Rainey just didn't want to live this far up in Minnesota, 3.5 hours from the cities. And so that didn't happen. We didn't do that. And by the way, when I say 3.5 hours up, when we drove up Andy's sister picked me up and brought me up here, because Rainey and I have just the one car right now. So she drove me up on Tuesday. We went right by the prison in Monticello, in that area. And or Monticello, or is it, where is the prison? In St. Cloud, the small prison up there. And I thought of you, Leslie. We just didn't have time to pull in and look for you or call you and say, hey, we're driving by on the freeway. Hey, bye. So we went right by where you live up there somewhere. Hey, Mike Myers. Cars are always a pain, Scotty, even for a mechanic like me. So, well, there you go, Mike. Cars are a pain in the ass. And you buy a car, you buy a money pit. And I think the people that don't have financial problems maintaining their cars are probably the lucky ones. Even when you buy a new one. Well, the thing about buying a new car, of course, is you got those warranties on them, which are pretty good. So St. Cloud's about 20 minutes from us, Leslie said. So thank God it's not in Monticello. Though the prison, yeah. So it's not the big state penitentiary, folks. It's a smaller prison. I don't know what prison it is in Monticello. So Mike Myers, welcome, by the way. This isn't the Mike. If this is your first time here, I don't recognize you. I don't know if I've spoken to you on or seen you on the show before. And if it was a long time ago, brain farted you away. Sorry. But this is the kind of the after show for anybody who's tuning in here right now. This is after hours. This is not the official part of the radio show, which ended at 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's now 10:16 Central Time, 10:17 almost. So this is the little Captain's Cabin, it's been dubbed, after the show, where we talk about stuff. And I'm missing people tonight. We have some of our regulars are not here. Uncle Dave is not here. Matt Finn is not here. Not diminishing any of you who are here, by the way. I used to watch you and Rocky. I thought Mike Myers that you looked familiar. I know Mike Myers, the actor, but I was pretty sure it was more than that I recognized your name, that I'd seen you here before or somewhere before. So I'm glad to have you here. And I'm sorry, Mike, that right now you're just kind of joining us when we're kind of winding down with not nonsensical banter, but not the topic of the night anyway, that was on the show. So we talked about the topic of the show tonight, by the way, was talking about blessing your home, the spirit of your house, kind of a paranormally edge, but a pagan-y edge also, and a spiritual edge, talking about that. But we got stuck for about 40 minutes of the show talking about the First Amendment and the mathematics books in Florida and all of that stuff. So there you go. Understand, it's good to see you. It's good to see you too. I'm glad you're here. This is the makeshift studio, by the way. I am away from home. I'm away from my normal studio for a few days. So I'm broadcasting from my friend's basement here. This is his basement, which is also my bedroom, as you can see, while my home away from home here. And for a few days. And I do not have my studio set up or my studio mics or my studio lighting or anything. So I'm just sitting under the ceiling lights here. You can see this room. It's a nice pine room down here. Gorgeous. He's got the rolling doors and the wood laminate floors. And this is a great room. And I'm sitting at this desk that's all built into the wall here. So this is our folks for at least one more night, tomorrow night, because I'll be home on Friday by about noon or so. You know what day Friday is, by the way? April 29th. You know what April 29th is? It's Rainey's 42nd birthday. So we'll all get a chance to say happy birthday to Rainey, or I might take Friday night off. Got to see what's going on. It smells piney in here, which is nice, and I love that smell. And of course, my friend's house sits here on a point out on Pequot Lake, up here in Pequot Lakes, Minnesota. And there's forest all around us. It's not, out in the middle of nowhere. There's a village here. There's residences all around the lake. But we're out in the big tall pines out here. And it's gorgeous. Webcams chat, hot girls, boys, and video chat. I think I can I not block that user? Yeah, there it is. Just blocked him. So there you go. So we just blocked the webcam stuff. I don't know if anybody actually saw that, but it's gone now. And if you see it in the chat in YouTube below the window, you can report it as well. And I could look at that and see if, yeah, I don't see anything in there. Wow, I don't know what's going on there. Oh, okay. I'm looking at the YouTube channel here, and it wasn't even playing over here. So, but everything just scrolled by me very quickly over there. So there you go. Thank you, Leslie. I also hit block the user from this chat room. We probably did it around the same time. So Mike Myers, great Canadian actor, says Michelle Canham Free. The Canadian resident Canadian, eh? Cuckoo, 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 cuckoo. Now, if you know what that is, Michelle Canham Free, I will have to say you're probably old. I remember it from the days of my youth. So, a great white north, Canada. And speaking of Canada, as you all know, this story about Canadian Black Watch soldier Will Bird, who found the sword in the clay, that's my book. That's the new illustrated book I've done. This is out now. That's why it's sitting here, so I could show you. I was going to show it during the show, but I always forget to do that kind of stuff. And it's my book. I wrote it. I illustrated it. And it's the story about Will Bird, Canadian soldier who found the old 2,000-year-old Roman gladius in the clay. And after the bombing of Amiens, France. And it juxtaposes against this character, who is a fictional character, Marius Abruzzo, who is the man to whom the sword belonged. And down here, I'm doing it backwards when I'm looking at the monitor. Over there. So it's a good book. The books are coming in. This book is in now. This was one of my author's copies that arrived early. And we've got a shipment of books coming in. And those of you who've purchased them should be seeing them hopefully hit the mail by next week, the end of next week, something like that. So there it is. Sword in the Clay. If you have not purchased your copy and you'd like to, go to theswordintheclay.com, just like the title. See? Theswordintheclay.com. Go over there. It's also on Amazon, but you'd have to go look up the link for it at Amazon. I would recommend buying it from the website, and we'll handle the shipping and stuff like that. But you can also just order it on Amazon, and they'll ship it for you. So there you go. June Shasta, I have your book, Tam O'Hare. I need to get this one. Thank you, June. I appreciate that. Tam O'Hare. That was my first book I ever authored. I had authored a graphic novel before that, but that's not the same thing. The Rollicking Adventures of Tam O'Hare. Believe it or not, those of you who like that book, I just was having a discussion with my literary agent, Italia Gandolfo. What a great name, huh? Italia Gandolfo. Like my wife, she is a beautiful brunette and lovely person. And she represents me literarily. But Tam O'Hare, we were talking about Tam O'Hare the other day. And she's talking about the possibility of trying to revive some properties to bring them into places like DreamWorks to see what the potential is for doing full-length animated motion pictures with DreamWorks, things like that. So Tam O'Hare, we're going to rework a grand proposal for that and some other things that she wants to do with that. I would love to revive writing that series of books. We've got The Sword in the Clay is out now. We've also got The 10 Breaths of Ra, which I want to finish, which was really a reworking of Fox and Bear, which DreamWorks was very interested in, and we didn't get it that far. I love it and keep it out. It's right over there, says June. June, do you happen to have the color version of that book, or do you just have the black and white version of that book? Because the original publication done through Morgan James published that in black and white because color was very expensive. And then I got the rights and I republished it in color. If you haven't seen oh good, you have the color version. That's the better version. It has actually more illustrations in it, and it has some additional text, some edited text. So it's the official second edition is the color version. I'm glad you have the color version. Leslie has both. I originally bought the black and white, and then it came out in color. Thank you for that, by the way. I want to release Tam O'Hare. I want to do a third edition of Tam O'Hare like this. I want to put it in a book format like this, a hardcover book, and it would be small like this. Now, the difference being this book's about 8,000 words, and you can see the thickness of that book. Tam O'Hare is about 30,000 words, so it would be, you know, at least 3 times its width. Might change the cost of the books. I'd have to look and see what it would do to the cost of the books. So maybe if we use smaller text or something like that, we'll have to find out what we can do. I think it'd be fun to have that in hardback in this size and format like this. So, and I'd probably rework the interior of Tam. And, you know, one of the things about this book is that even at 8,000 words, it is, I laid it out like this. You can see the margins in this book. I used let's see if I can center this, doing this backwards. I used very wide margins, and I did that because I wanted to suspend the story per page into the margins. And you can see, like here, there's a 2-page spread with just text in it, so you get the idea of how that lays out. But we'll have to see. Maybe we can fit Tam into something not quite any more expensive by tightening up the spacing in the text and stuff like that. We'll see. I'm talking technical stuff on a book on the radio. So, Matthew, I believe Scotty said 80. What was that? Oh, the number of pages for the book. Was that the question? How many pages the Sword in the Clay has? It has officially by number 73, but that's not including the several pages of introductory matter. Like you open up this book, there's a blank, heavier page, and then you got your title page, and you got after your title page, I'll just show you. See, you got a blank page and the inner title page, and then you have the legal page over on this side, and you've got from the author. That's me. I wrote something there as an introduction to the book and my take on the book, and then you got a blank page, and then the dedication. I dedicated this book to my father. To my dad, Joseph Roberts. It says, see, I'm doing this. When you're looking at the monitor, you're looking at it backwards. So this is dedicated to my dad. He should be getting his book very soon. I sent his out the same day I received these in the mail. And then there's the blank page and then the first page of the book. And there it is. That's how it works. So there it is, Sword in the Clay. And the bookmarks. We got the bookmarks in too. So they're gorgeous, very velvety. I wish you could see texture, but that is just like, it's got this velvety finish to it, almost like you want to go, oh, I get something on my hands. No, you didn't. It's velvety. So it's a nice for in the books. And I got the oversized ones like this. And by the way, if you haven't seen this yet, this is how well the color reproduces in the book, how well that printed out. Gives you an idea. So. Bada boom, there it is. Sword in the Clay. So if you don't have your copy, they're available. And you can get them on the website. So I think that's about all I got for tonight. Yeah, you will, Leslie. You'll see that when you get it. Thank you, Julie. Or June. June. I'm looking right at your name and said Julie. That's the way my brain is working. My brain's tired, I think. Thank you, June. I appreciate that. She said, I love those illustrations. So thank you, Leslie. There's the link. Guys, if you don't have the book, you can avail yourself of the book. The book is $29.95, which is, and I haven't had anybody bristle too much about that. We tried to choose a median price range between books that like this that are manufactured out there and are published. A book like this runs between usually $25 to $26 on the low side and $31 to $32 on the high side. So we put it at $29.95 is the price. And then if you buy it on the website, there's also an $11 charge for shipping and handling. People always say, well, what's handling? Well, it's buying envelopes, stuffing envelopes, walking it to the post office, shipping and handling. So it's $11 charge. I think it's a little cheaper to have it shipped directly to you from Amazon. If you have Amazon Prime, if you remember, I think the shipping may even be free. So you can just get the book without shipping. When you order it through the website, you're buying it directly from the publisher or us. And so we handle the book. We have the ability to sign them and envelope them and so on. If you want a book signed, you buy it through Amazon, you'd have to mail it to us and then include an envelope with postage on it so we can mail it back to you. All right. So fun talk about the book. I'm going to be, by the way, oh, thank you, Lisa. The autographed copy's $55 plus shipping, worth every penny. I appreciate that. Thank you. Leslie, that means a lot that you would put that up there. The next project I'm going to finish, if you guys remember, is the book about archaeology, how to be an archaeologist. That's being published through Little Platinum Books. And that's going to be a book. It's a book that I was working on, and I put it aside to do the Sword in the Clay. Now that the Sword in the Clay is done, I'm working on this biography I'm writing, memoir, biography, inspirational book for Andy Dabbs. And that's why I'm up here this week. And he's going to be self-publishing that. I think it's going to be a very good book. It's not just a book about business, rags to riches, him, how he built his business and made a lot of money doing it. It's a book inspirational. It's about his life. And you go, well, who is Andy Dabbs? I don't want to read about his life. He's a guy that has done things just like we have done. He's a guy who has conquered over a lot of his personal demons along the way. And that's what this story is about. And he's somebody who suffers from anxiety. And so in this book, we're going to be talking about his anxieties and how he let them drive him to drinking, the things that happened because of that, the very real possibility that if he wasn't a multimillionaire now, as the result of his putting his nose to the grindstone and making good over the last 15 years for his business, which he started from nothing and alone, and now he's worth millions. He could be in prison, and so that could have been the other choice for the roads that he took. And so we're going to be talking about that stuff in his book. But then I move on to finish. And just to refresh your memories, if you don't mind, if you got a minute, I'll share my screen with you. And let me show you. For those of you who haven't seen this, or if I refreshed your memory, this is the new illustrated book I'm doing that is called How to Be an Archaeologist. And there, now you see my multiple screen right there. I'm going to take you over to Photoshop down here. And oh, there's the graphic for tonight's show. I can put that away. And then, oh, look at that. That's my great-grandfather. It's my great-grandfather who was murdered in 1926. I had that picture up because I was talking about him with somebody here the other day. But let me open something and I'll show you some, the Sword in the Clay, or not the Sword in the Clay, the Little Platinum Books right here. And the book is How to Be an Archaeologist. And let me show you maybe the better place to do that Let me cancel that. I'm going to come over here to this, and I'm going to open up a new file, or open a file, which is the same book, How to Be an Archaeologist. It's over here in Little Platinum Books, How to Be an Archaeologist. And let's see where I've got that file. Right here is the file. Let's open that up. And I can show you what this book looks like if you haven't seen it already. So here we go. Let me just check over there in the chat room really quick. That's the way I got to do it. Hey, guys. So let's go back over here to InDesign and back to the first page. Now, this isn't the cover, but like the Sword and the Clay, this is the internal title page. It's a repeat of the cover. And if I took you over here to show you the cover of the book, open, and the cover of the book is back over here, of course, Little Platinum Books, and How to Be an Archaeologist. And here's the final cover for the book. I believe this is the final right here. So there is the cover of the book, as if you open it up and spread it out. So the front cover being over on this right-hand side, where you see this vertical text running here. That's, of course, the spine. And it's a thin book. This is just the wraparound. And then, of course, the back cover. So How to Be an Archaeologist. A boy's discovery of an old meerschaum pipe in a riverbed inspires him to set his path on discovery, exploration, and eventually to the land of the pharaohs and the realm of the gods, demigods, and spirits of the dead. Have you ever dreamed of achieving great things, or of casting off for adventure and setting your sails for discovery in faraway places? This is the story of what one boy did to make that happen. And that's the blurb from the back cover. And then we go back over here to, this is inside. I don't have all the text or all the type or anything placed. Remember, we read this book on the show months and months ago, maybe 5 or 6 months ago. You flip the page, you got the legal page, you got the internal title page, and then it goes to, oh, this isn't even supposed to be here. That's, I was doing some experimentation on this page with that text. But then there's the dedication page to Rainey and my kids. And then the first page. So this is how the book will lay out, and the illustrations on the left, and the text over on the right-hand side. And as you go through the book, there's the little boy, he's in the river, and he finds the meerschaum pipe. Meerschaum, it's that kind of ivory-looking stuff. You've seen it before. It gets brown and reddish tones after it's been smoked as a pipe and ages. So this is the head of the pipe, and it was of Admiral Lord Nelson in the story. And then he runs into the curiosity shop to find out what he's got there. And he puts it up on his shelf and says that one day he's going to smoke that pipe when he has a reason to do so, when he's old enough. And then the story, as you can see, is all laid out. I got all those illustrations yet to finish, where you see blank pages. And then later in the book, he's grown up, this little boy, and he makes his discovery. And that's toward the end of the book. Now, I had done this illustration first because it was one of the first things I did before I even knew what I was going to write. And I put this illustration together. So that doesn't appear till near the end of the book. And then there's the end of your book. So there it is. That's the Sword and the Clay. And I'm sorry, not the Sword and the Clay. How to Be an Archaeologist. And so that's the next project I'm going to finish after I finish Andy's book up here. And so I know the publisher, Little Platinum Books, he's just asked me again the other day, hey, how's that book coming along? So somewhere in between, I'm going to have to do more of the illustrations. We're going to try to get that and Andy's both done in the month of May, so that can be done and out and into your hands. It's going to be a hardback as well. It's going to be just like this book, just a smaller format. It'd be as if you cut the top 3 inches off of this or something. It's going to look like that. It's going to be that here in the window. Like about 8.5 by 8.5, something like that, square book. So there you go. That's the month of May, and already set in stone for me. I got projects to finish. What age group? Sean Stroik asks. That book is going to be for an age group that's a little younger than The Sword and the Clay. It's going to be parents can read it. I'm really targeting it to 3rd and 4th graders and up. And indulge me, guys, for a couple of minutes, for Sean's sake and for maybe others. Let me read you just a little bit of this story, and you'll get a feel for the age group when I do this for you. Let's see, The Sword and the Clay. That's not the one I want. I want open. Let's see where I have this. Archaeologist. Let's see if we got it in here. Archaeologist. Did I save it under that name? How to be an archaeologist? No, I don't think I did. No. So it was, maybe I did it by the initials. How to be an archaeologist. I did not. So I'm going to read it right from the book that I've got laid out here. So guys, listen to this. Indulge me for a minute. I love reading this stuff anyway. I could read the whole book in about 20 minutes or so, but we're not going to do that. I'm just going to read you the beginning of the book, and you'll get a feel for it if you're okay with that. This is especially for you, Sean. You got a 4th grader. Perfect. You listen to this book and see if it's something you'd read for him for fun, to read it together with him, or let him just read by himself. Now, this first picture that showed the boy wading in the river and he finds the pipe, this is where the story starts. It goes like this. You had no idea you were just out to play, wading in the shallows of the river that day, when your bare toes dislodged it, broke it loose from the clay, a pipe carved in meerschaum, 100 years in the cray. Someone had lost it or tossed it away off the bridge in your town that spanned River Cray. The pipe sank to the bottom, and for the next 100 or so years lay quietly waiting for you to appear. The pipe's stem was broken, the bowl caked with muck, the hand-carved face was intact. What luck! A man with a bicorn hung over his brow, looked you straight in the eyes and implored you somehow to take the first step on a path that would lead to the rest of your life and your life work's creed. With your riverbed fine tucked deep in your pocket, it was up to the town you sped like a rocket, where there on the corner of High Street and Crockett was a curious old shop where the keeper's old docket could surely tell all of the pipe in your pocket. Sure enough, it was old and much older than old. It was ancient, antique, and bore history untold. The face on the bowl was of Admiral Lord Nelson, whose defeat of the fleet of Napoleon had won him great honor and glory, and a statue on a column, and even his face on a pipe carved in meerschaum. So much to be learned, so much history discovered from an old ancient pipe that you found underwater. And what of the artist who took time to create it? What were his reasons? Why did he not date it? For whom it was made? Why was it important? Could these questions be answered, or would they ever remain dormant? Carefully, delicately, you clean off the tarnish, add a new stem and a light coat of varnish. Up on your bookshelf, you set up a display where it will stand and remain until that one day when the right time arrives to light it and smoke it. Only you will know when, and you will not postpone it. That's where the first part of that book ends. And so that's the tone of the book. I'm so tempted to read the whole thing to you, but then you won't want to buy the book. But well, maybe you still will. I've read the whole thing on here before. So, it goes through his life. This boy, as he grows up, he goes to school, gets his degrees, the things he has to learn, and then it also goes into as he goes to Egypt and he makes his first discovery, and the life that he speaks the life into the name by speaking the name, the eternal life. And I think it's a good book. I enjoy it. I wrote it to be fun to read, and you see it's got rhyming to it. It's not a poem by any means, but it's a rhyming book. And I love it and rhymes. I'm glad you do, Sean. Thank you. So that's the tone. I think it would be perfect for your son. I know my kids like it. I've read it to my kids already, even though it's not in book form. They love it, and I think it'll be a fun book to read to your kids, a fun book to have your kids read. Although it's going to be a little challenging, there are big words in it. Here, I'll read you one last little section. This is way toward the end of the book, and he makes his first discovery in Egypt. And it goes like this. Now you'll see by the language of this how it is. It goes like this. Now, this is when the little boy's grown up and he's an archaeologist now, after years of getting here. He says, "You won't find it in books. They don't teach it in school. The universities won't break with their cardinal rule that says it's all science, just history, nothing more. They give you lectures and letters and matriculate you to the door. But it's there in that moment, after years of hard work, of reading, writing papers, and digging in the dirt, that you find yourself breathing the air of the ancients. You've moved rocks, sifted silt, and here you now face it. Eternal life, it was written, resides in the name. Remembrance and utterance is the name of that game. So you drop to your knees, assuaging your fears, and for the very first time in thousands of years, you gaze into stone eyes that shed only stone tears. Your fingers brush lightly on glyphs carved so bold, and there on the lintel where in antiquity was told the story of this man now 3,000 years old, and the recounting of his life and his deeds of great fame lay the resurrection to be found only in his name. His face to your face, your words to his ears. You speak out his name not uttered in years, and the statue before you breaks free of its bonds, reconnecting with life in the light of the gods. And when the din of discovery is settled and flown, you return to your cottage on the river back home. There's so much more work, so much more to uncover. You know you'll be restless till you return in November. For the next 6 months, it's all about writing. You must catalog your season and publish your findings. On your way to your study, you get a glimpse in the mirror. The ruddy young lad you no longer see there. The man reflected is a sun-leathered tan, whose temples are flecked with the color of sand. It is time, you say to the glass with a smile. Lord Nelson's been waiting for a very long while. So that's the language of the book. And so I think you'll enjoy it. Yep, that's how they learn words. Exactly, Sean. I had an agent from New York way back when I first started Tam O'Hare. And he told me that when I said the language was maybe a little heady for younger kids, he said, don't worry about that. He said publishers like books that have language that challenge kids a little bit. So don't be afraid to challenge kids to read. And so there you go. All right. That's all I got. I've gone longer than I thought I would. It's 10:50. And I got to go to bed. I got a whole day of work here tomorrow of writing and doing stuff on this end. And so sounds great. Like anapestic tetrameter, similar to Night Before Christmas. Yeah, it's got that feel. I like that sound. I like using that when I can. Not every book I write is poem. As a matter of fact, this will be the first one I've done like this. But I've written other things this way, with papers and ditties and stuff like that. So it'll be fun to see this in print. So there you go. Well, thank you, Barbie D. It was wonderful having you here. Great bedtime story on the show. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. June, thank you for all your great, kind words tonight. Michelle Canham-Free, good to see you. As always, and who else is left here? Sean, Barbie D, June, Michelle, Barbie D, I think I said already twice. So that's it. Morgan Snow might still be here. Matthew Sainsbury is out. And we got 7 of you left, and I'm going to send you on your way now. You all have a good night. You know what? Live long and prosper.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.